I think we're good. Y'all should have got a message.
Yep, I did. I think we should be up and running. So
give it 1 second. Still have a done, and we should be on now.
All right, good.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining tonight. Got a fairly long list of mainly updates, but also would like to get some of your reactions to a few things that have been happening. Before we go on to the agenda, which you should have all gotten by email, I'd like to first ask for approval of the minutes. And I have December 10th, but it was actually December 9th meeting. If you guys got them, and if you have changes, propose them. But if not, could somebody propose to adopt the minutes from December 9th?
I got it. I propose that we approve the minutes as submitted for December 9th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. Quick update on White's Ferry first. It's still to me, other than our gym project, kind of the top issue for us. As you know, we sent a letter to all the county officials, and that, when I say we, I mean the commissioners, Fair Access Committee, and the Poolsville Area Chamber of Commerce. So it was a pretty well represented letter. I think it was well done too. And it wasn't a critical letter. It was just straightforward and said, we need to have action taken. It's been a year. Here are a couple of ideas. We need to jumpstart this process, even if we don't get all of the T's crossed and I's dotted. We did not make a big fanfare about it, in part because our county officials and the DOT people have been telling us that they are trying to work with the Loudoun County officials, and they're, I put it this way, hopeful that something is going to happen. And so as I've gotten a couple of communications from people in the county, and they've again asked us, even though I'm fairly concerned since we haven't seen anything since that letter was sent, but I'm still willing to wait a little longer. They are still hopeful that something is going to start happening. So I think we got to give it another week, and we'll see where we are then. We may have to revisit whether we want to remain in the position of just kind of quietly waiting, because it may not be possible. I'm not sure. But for right now, I think the letter did what we wanted to do, which was it did get people's attention. It got people focused on it. I think it's fair to say. So hopefully we'll see something. But right now, I don't think there's anything else to do on it unless anybody else has any other opinions.
Nope.
Okay. On the county budget process, you know, at the last meeting, we agreed to send a letter to the county executive urging him to include in his budget both either initial funding or at least, and maybe even proposed funding for a community center, but at least enough resources to get a POR developed for the community center. And we also pushed him to include in his capital budget a proposal to commit to the gymnasium. I'm not sure we can get him to necessarily commit to funding, because that comes from the recommendation comes from BOE, but he can certainly put in his budget that they expect the gym to be built. Got some good feedback from several council members because we shared it with them and the BOE. So right now, I don't know what's going to be in the county executive's budget. It comes out on the 15th. And so I think we're going to be needing to be ready to maybe do some kind of reaction depending what's in that budget proposal. I'm hopeful that we're going to see some good things in that budget from the county executive. Jim knows this as well as I do, but some of his people, like Greg Wims, the Western County director, has been very helpful and I know internally been trying to cheerlead for this. And we've gotten some good feedback from some of the BOE members. So we're hopeful that we'll see something in that budget. And if we don't, obviously, then we may have to have a different kind of reaction. But right now, I'm hoping we'll see something positive and we can reinforce it and then go on from there. His budget comes on the 15th. The council then begins in February through April, a series of hearings on the capital budget. There's also an operating budget in March, which is not something we really spend a lot of time on normally. So we may have to testify in that time frame, depending on what is in the budget or where we see things at that point. And last year, well, actually the last several years, we've actually not only sent a letter to the county executive before his capital budget is released, we've also sent a letter to the council, usually in February, reinforcing what we said to the county executive. And in this case, if he does propose things in there that we like, we would reinforce that and reference it in the letter. So I don't think we need to send the letter now, but probably by the next meeting, we should have a draft that we can consider and then send that to the county council. Again, just laying out what we want to see happen in the budget process. Are there any questions on that? We may have to testify. We have in the past. It's going to, again, depend exactly what's in the budget. Even if it's positive, we may still want to testify. I think just because if we're there and we keep on having our voice out there, it's always helpful. So it probably one way or another, we're probably going to testify is my view. The other thing in that regard, and luckily Jim mentioned it and I forgot about it, was the muster campaign for the BOE. I think we may need a muster campaign again in the county council hearing process. We'll see, especially when somebody testifies. That can always be helpful to have a muster campaign right after that testimony to reinforce what the person, whoever it is who speaks, says. So anything else on the county budget process? Anybody's, if I'm missing something or haven't thought about something?
No, just to reiterate, Link, that we definitely, I think now we're in a pattern of testifying and we need to keep the pattern up.
Yeah, I think the fact that we are out there continually messaging, whether it's in a submission or in oral form, it really is very helpful. So it's gotten us to where we are, I think, to a large degree. All right. We, at the last meeting, we discussed the political situation coming up this year. And one of the things we talked about was getting a county executive debate sponsored by us and maybe some other parties, depending on what we want to work out. We did, as you know, have a debate last time with, at that point, it was 3 county executive candidates. I think it was really helpful, again, positioning us as a voice to be reckoned with, but also it was good for our citizens to hear. This year, of course, with COVID, it may be a little different. I just saw the first debate just happened between the county executive candidates. If you want me, I can send you guys the link to it. It was sponsored by the Coalition for the Homeless and MoCo. And it was all virtual. So all 4 of the candidates appeared and it was, I think, well run. So if that's the model we have to use, we may want to look at that as kind of a way to do it. So we may have to do it. I'm not sure, but who knows with where COVID is at this point, it's probably going to be a fair bet that we may have to do virtual rather than live.
Link, I've been thinking about this. I think we position ourselves right timing wise that maybe we should consider holding it at the band shell and having it outside. I know that it'll be a bit of a AV challenge, but I think that could actually be a lot of fun and give these guys the right kind of stage. I'm sure nobody's even we're not passing like a microphone around anymore. That's all those days are gone, I guess. Yeah. But that's something that we should think about. Outdoors in the evening at the band shell. That could actually be a big draw and a lot of fun for people too, versus sitting inside. Just a food for thought versus virtual. Yeah.
The other advantage, of course, is that it has them come out to Poolsville.
Exactly.
Which wouldn't happen virtually. So the only issue there, Jim, is that initially we thought about doing it in March. We don't have to. That's just a time frame we threw out there. All of the candidates, just so you all know, we contacted all of them. All of them said yes, they wanted to participate. We initially said March, so that might be a little difficult for an outside thing, but we don't have to necessarily move forward tonight on planning that. But by the next meeting, we should start firming up what we're going to do, because that'll be only 2 months away if we decide to do it in March. But I like the idea. I mean, it would be good to have them come out if we can get them to come out to Pools, it would be great.
Maybe just pick a warmer weather date. And then once we see how things are shaping up COVID wise, then we decide that it has to be virtual, then it can be. Otherwise, then maybe it is outdoors, or who knows, by then, maybe with Omicron died down, that we can be back inside again.
Yeah, that's good.
A warmer date gives us all the options. Not saying it has to be, but we know their calendars are going to be full too.
The only concern I have is that if we get later in the summer, are we risking the fact that their calendars are going to get so full that we may not be able to get them out? Or I don't know. Laura, do you have a reaction to that?
Sorry. So getting the hold on calendars?
Well, we're thinking about, we were talking initially about March, and we've gotten all four of the candidates to say, and we haven't a specific date yet, but they all said March sounded like a good time frame for them. Is if we waited till, and Jim's suggesting maybe we want to do something in the warmer months because we might be able to do it out in the band shell and get him to come to Poolsville. I think it's a good idea because it would get him out here. The only issue I was wondering about is, are they going to start getting stacked up with events and so forth by, let's say, June? If that's
do you think we have a shot at getting on all four of them's calendar in May?
It depends when in May, right? Like school's still in. Hopefully, we're past COVID, but it depends how quickly. I'm very interested in the next 60 days to see how things go with Omicron, and April, I think, is going to be really telling too. Like I'm having February conferences cancel indoors, so I think the next 60 days, I think it'll be telling the tenor of in-person events, but the outdoor event is good. I know the last time we had the forums, it actually was at Poolsville High School, to have folks come and walk through, the high school. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion about it. I don't know for sure. It's hard to tell with where things are at with public health.
I guess if we invited them within the next several weeks, if we decided tonight that we wanted to try it, let's say in June after school's out, and we invited them over the next couple of weeks, their calendars may not be that filled up yet, so we may have a chance of getting them all.
When
we could say
when's the primary?
Good point. I think it is in June, actually. Isn't it in June?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So
I think Western Montgomery County is important. If anybody was absent, I feel it would be highly noticed. So I think they're all going to try to come.
Yeah.
And if you have a commitment, I wouldn't worry about that. I think they're going to try to come. So.
We can hold it at a pavilion at White's Ferry if we don't want to do the band show.
There you go, buddy. Now you're talking.
An outside tent at White's Ferry.
They have covered pavilions.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That would be actually pretty fun. Hopefully it's up and running by whenever that is. So what do you think, Link? Do we maybe try to send something out for if they can get something in May, like ask them for available dates, all four candidates in May, in which they can come out for a candidate forum,
right,
and see what dates they have left, and then maybe we can cross-reference one of those dates for all four candidates.
Okay.
Question though, Lane, have you, in speaking with the campaigns, have they talked about the other forums around the county and any tentative dates? Because they also geographically and, time-wise space them out. So yeah, we're early though. So maybe you can get whatever the committee decides is ideal, the most ideal date, and maybe they can frame the other areas geographically around your date.
Right. So
yeah, that would be nice.
Hans Reamer, I've talked to him, his staff person directly, and also to Mark Elrich's. So both of those I've talked to directly. I think David Blair, Jim and I saw him and asked him at that point, and he said yes. I know Tom Hucker, I guess we also asked him, didn't we, Jim, at the, so all of them.
Yeah, Tom Hucker was like, anytime, any place, anywhere.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and see if we can do May. I'll take Hans again, because and Mark, because I got both their staff people and they've called me, so I can reach them directly. Tom Hucker really well, Jim, or
yeah. I'll take Tom Hucker and David Blair.
Okay.
And then do you want to give them a date in May, or do we want to just ask them, give us some available evening dates in May that they can come meet? They can come to a forum.
Because then we can just say, after polling all four candidates, we found that this is the date when all of you can make it.
Okay. I have direct contact with their campaign people, so no problem.
Yeah.
With the two of them. And while we're on that same subject, let me go back to that screen real quick. So I was reached out to by the David Blair campaign. As you guys know, my full disclosure, my stepson is one of his campaign managers. So, I know David pretty well, but not top well, but Dave's a good guy, obviously. And, I'm going to express my personal opinion when it comes to the voting booth, but, who Fair Access endorses is going to be our I think that's going to be super critical. I'm not going to let the relationship affect it. Next Thursday, there is going to be a up county roundtable that David Blair is hosting, and it's more like a listen and learn tour stop for him. And so I've agreed to do it with them, but I'm going to be putting it out there to the commissioners and to Fair Access to see who else wants to join me on it, either virtually or in person with me to the forum. So I'll be putting that out to everybody. And it's basically just all up county leaders presenting issues to David Blair. And I'm sure that we can prepare something out of all the things that we've already prepared that will fit the bill for him.
So that's next Thursday?
Yes. And it just came together today. It was originally, I got pitched that it was going to be a faith-based group in Poolsville only. And I think they still plan on doing one of those, but this is more about just up county representatives.
But it is virtual.
Yeah, it's virtual.
Okay. All right. That also, I'm glad you raised the issue of the primary, because I don't think it's necessary for us to have a primary council debate. I think we could have some kind of debate if I'm not sure it makes that much sense. Right now, there's only 2 candidates for our district. Now, we could do one that includes all the folks running for at large as well, if we wanted to, or try to.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody think that's useful or worthwhile? I guess I'm kind of agnostic about it to some degree.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Link, the only thing I would say is that maybe that for the district that's going to be our district, that those candidates come in.
Yeah.
Marilyn Balcom and her opponent from Germantown.
Yeah.
So far. I mean, those two by themselves, that could be a lively, interesting forum.
Yeah.
With those two.
Yeah, you're right. I think the primary is in June. So if we're going to do that, it would have to be sometime in the March, April timeframe, I would guess.
And I think we only, as much as I like the idea of using and getting the at large candidates involved, because they have the same vote.
Yeah.
We've shown that there's a leadership pattern out there that if we get a Friedson type that's representing our side, and so far Maryland looks like she can do that. We have to learn more about the other candidate, then this is a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's a little harder for us to influence the at-large anyway, because they're in the entire county voter base, and we're only talking in our district. Still big. I mean, it's 150,000 people, but okay.
Yeah, so keep it with our district.
Yeah,
because I think it's better to get that early influence. I remember Andrew was one of the first candidates to a forum at the elementary school way back when there was like 8 candidates for our district. Yeah. And I think that was a good relationship builder to have that.
Oh yeah.
So I think we need to form firm relationships with whoever's going to be our next council member. And I think having just the candidates for our district is good.
Okay. And that one, I think we just go ahead and do a virtual one, maybe in April sometime. I think that's probably
no question set up a virtual period, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So let's I'll reach both you and I know Maryland for about, I don't know Williams, the other guy running, but Ed Reed, I think does. So we can find some way to get through to him, I'm sure. Yeah,
let's do it. We can do that. I spoke to him about that at the legislative breakfast. Thanks again, Laura, the single-handedly greatest network event in Montgomery County every year.
Yeah.
And Link and I walked away without getting COVID.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Although Ed got it. So
yeah.
Although not there necessarily, we don't know, but he did get it.
Yeah.
So you talked to Williams at the breakfast?
Yes, I did. And he was another one of those guys, they always say face value, but he's definitely anytime, any place. So he'll
okay.
And he also wants to come up and get a tour of the town and all that stuff. And I'll be reaching out to him and arranging something for all of us, whoever from a commissioner and a fair access committee wants to meet with him. So
all right. Well, you and I can talk on the next few days about how to reach. I can reach out to Maryland. You can reach out to him. We can figure out a couple dates when we think it might make sense.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
Okay. Anything else on the political front anybody has? Laura, anybody else? Okay. I did want to update all of you. Some of you know this already. Jim certainly does. He's right in the middle of it. But as you know, it's been extremely hard to get COVID test kits. The county has bought a lot of them and is distributing them at libraries. We tried to go down, and it's not easy to get them if you're not in this area, because we only have a CVS and we don't have a library anymore. So the commissioners have reached out to the county, and they have agreed to work with us on getting distribution going up here. It's going to be at a storefront right next to where the old watershed was. I think it starts Monday. Is that correct, Jim?
We're not saying just yet because we've been warned by the county to keep it close to your vest, announce it right beforehand, and that it's still going to be a mob scene.
Yeah, it will be. It is.
It's definitely at the beginning of next week, and it will be held in one of the empty commercial spaces next to the Poolsville Library.
Yeah.
Tony announced yesterday at our planning commission, so I'm sure the ones and twos of viewers at our planning commission know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they the county health officer, as well as the staff surrounding it, they've been like, when they send the emails out, when they talk about it, how to the protocol, there's several sections of the protocols that are in all caps, and one of them is about how many people be expected. So we've rewritten our traffic plan like 3 times, with any luck, it won't be too terrible. Let's put it that way. But we're anticipating that there may be lines that run from the site along Fisher Avenue, on Norris Avenue, and then back down Wooten Avenue to the Dr. Dillingham Park.
How is that gonna? I mean, how are they handing them out? Is it just come and get a test, or is it you?
You get 2 test kits per person, not per family, per person.
Yeah.
So is it just a matter of handing it to people, or do you have to? They take your name so that they know you're not coming back.
Nope.
Well, we're gonna have written instructions for it too, because the county is trying to make sure that the database is going to be administered to as a result of handing out. It's like it's a zero-sum game if you just hand out the test kits, and then you don't know what happens after that. So there's going to be a protocol established, and likely we'll be giving some verbal instructions while we're doing it, but the key will be keeping the line moving,
right?
And make sure that people are well informed of what they're supposed to do after they get the kit.
Right.
So and we're just looking at the protocols that they've done throughout the county already, and it's been, they've lived and learned too.
I mean, my son got what I can only imagine were like some of the last 3 kits at CVS one day. I mean, he said he had gone, he went to Germantown and they didn't have any. And he was home. It was actually Christmas Eve. He was like, can't get these anywhere else in Maryland except for Poolsville. And then they were gone.
Montgomery County bought them all. That's
why.
Right.
From CVS.
Yeah, it's going to be live and learn. And what's going to happen is, that all the thousands and thousands of people that are listening to us right now, they have to know that we're going to that we've been told that we will be restocked, and that we will, we're going to keep this rolling while it's required, basically,
right.
or while it's needed. So, anyway, there's more to be said, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Tony mentioned it's going to be a left-hand turn into the shopping center. So are we going to close the road and divert people who don't want to test onto Wooten or something? How are you going to keep people from honking the horn?
So here's I'm not. So if it gets messed up, I'm still going to take responsibility for it. But I actually wanted them to come from and stage like we staged the parade.
Yeah.
Where they go down Cattail and they can potentially wind into town, and then always stay on the right-hand side of the road. But
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. That's all I'm going to say then.
Right.
When he said they're going to have people turn left into that,
that didn't make sense.
Send trouble for me.
Yeah, because you're crossing traffic then.
You guys, we haven't published anything yet. I'll have one more go at it with Jeff Eck, who's been running it, and Jeff's been getting advice from other people too. It's not
Yeah.
He's not, nobody's acting on their own. We're all just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted, like, a right.
A right out of the parking lot, go down by town hall left, so you don't end up with a line up back to.
I think one of the reasons that
Yeah.
I had the same feeling, but then I think one of the reasons they thought about this approach is if you go right and right and right, when you get out after you go through, you're going to come back on to where people are supposedly going to be in line right in front of you. So getting out in front of those people and getting out is going to be hard too. So I guess there's no easy solution. It doesn't look like.
Well, if you can't make a left into the parking lot, you shouldn't be anyone in your way.
Cars are there. If they have a lineup of cars, it's going to be a little problem no matter what.
Yeah.
Once you come from the school, you turn right after AHOP into the library parking lot. Do your thing.
The only pinch point in my method was right in front of Dr. Pike and AHOP when that right
That's
turn
what I'm talking
access
about.
lane,
Yeah.
it gets eliminated for like a quarter of a block.
Yeah.
And then we would need some traffic control and some cones. But again, the people that know things better than me had said that go from the other way. And I can't run everything. My wife told me that today already.
And these things are always not perfect. So if the first day it turns out to be a major disaster, we'll have to change it. That's all we can do.
Well, yeah, we're definitely going to live and learn, and it could be a disaster, but we're going to ask everybody to have patience, and then we'll get through it.
And it's 100% certain someone's going to complain
Oh, yeah.
about the traffic.
Right.
I'm going to sign up for that ahead of time. Be a complainer. I'll complain. So
You've already pre-complained. It's
I'm
good.
pre-complaining.
Pre-file. I'm going to pre-file my complaint. All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks for that.
And you've already seen me walk away from responsibility on this, right?
Good job.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, we got that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the final issue I have, and if anybody else has anything after this, certainly raise it, is the community center. I have been circulating to different folks in town, like the Pools Area Seniors Committee, a draft of a white paper that we had done a couple of years ago, actually, initially with input from various groups about what kinds of programming and initiatives and services might be things that ought to be offered in a community center in Poolsville. I also gave them a schematic of what the Scotland Community Center that we went and took a look at looks like in terms of the number of rooms, what the rooms are and so forth. So they have a feeling for it. I've gotten some feedback already from two groups, including PASC. So I'm going to incorporate that, of course, and try to make the white paper as robust as possible. We're doing this in part because when we talked to the folks in the county who were hopefully going to be putting together the POR for a community center, they said it's always helpful to get community input. So we're going to try to do that. And another reason to do it, honestly, is to get people thinking in town, too, about things that they might think ought to be done in the community center. And it's a good way just to keep folks in the county aware that we're trying to push on this. So we can, when we send it back to them, it just helps remind them, hey, we're looking for a community center. So anyway, I'll get you guys a draft of that in the next week or so when I've got more input. I think I sent you all both the early drafts as well as the schematics, so you have it. But so far, the response I've gotten in terms of the community center for Scotland is that it looks like a good fit for Poolsville. So that's a good thing too. So anyway, that's all I know at this point on the community center, but I think we're making some progress there too. Any media things that you wanted to mention, Laura, at all? Other than the Washington Post article on the White's Ferry?
Yeah, no, we're on standby, really specific to White's Ferry, if the county comes through with anything, we're just on standby if the committee here or the town wants to reach out to the media and share any opinions about moving now that we're officially over the 1-year anniversary of the closure. So no, there's nothing really other than that link.
One other thing in terms of media I wanted to raise, and I sent you all an email, which is on the Board of Education, and it is born out of frustration to some extent, as I said in my email to you. But I also think there's a certain logic to it. I don't like conspiracy theories, but I do think that what I'm seeing happening so far, and maybe that it'll turn around tonight, maybe the Board of Education will in fact make a decision that says they specifically support a gym. But I just, am getting more and more convinced that even though we did get an amazing lift and did a great job of getting our school on the list to get reconstructed, that we're still just getting less than we deserve from the county. And my feeling is, in my email too, I kind of laid it out, but I think there's several reasons that I'm feeling that way. And one of them is that some of you remember this, and Jim does, I know specifically because he was on the call, but when they first came out with the design for the school, they actually eliminated the old gym in the original plan.
Yeah.
And that says something to you about how much they really understand the need for athletic practice facilities in our school. I mean, it was just
I have no clue.
that happened. But beyond that, we had some good, Jim and I had a good meeting with David Griffith, I guess it was last spring, with the county MCPS planning folks. It was a very good meeting, actually, going through what they're doing in the plan and also some initial ideas about what to do about a gymnasium. And actually, since then, even though I've reached out numerous times, it's been pretty much radio silence. We did get some good, nice responses from some BOE members about what our need for a gym. And, they were very supportive, not specific, but supportive. But I'm wondering, I don't know, Laura, I sent that in my note to you, whether there's some way to, if we have to, if nothing happens tonight, I don't want to let this sit. I want to use that as a leverage point because, if we don't get any progress tonight and we just get the approval and no sign that they're going to do anything in the gym, I'm wondering if there's in some kind of a way we can use that as a leverage because the inequality of this, the inequity of this is just really staring me in the face even more the more I look at it and think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Washington Post would do an editorial op-ed based on it or anything, but maybe a letter to the editor or something that does, I don't know, it might be worth thinking about.
It's definitely the redheaded stepchild syndrome again.
Yeah.
Still.
Tonight,
Go ahead.
I was just looking at the agenda, and there's 10 minutes allotted for the approval of about 15 different contracts,
Right?
Including ours. So I don't foresee them moving away from that. I think they're just going to approve it as is.
Right.
I'd be totally surprised if it doesn't. But like we mentioned, and we've been saying before, it might not be this fiscal year where the gym gets put in, but we have to keep pushing after this.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we have now over 370.
Wow.
Each board member received 370 unique emails.
That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. But so, it's something we're going to have to push and push and push beyond this year. We can't just give up after this fiscal year and say, well, it's not going to happen, because as we've seen with Seneca Valley, projects change.
Yeah.
And the project scope increases. So if we keep pushing, it might not be this fiscal year, but maybe next.
So I have a question actually about that and about other schools that have had rebuilds or renovations or whatever. So when those have been done and when those changes have been made, have those happened primarily because of community activism, or was it the county deciding, oh, well, we need to do this? I just don't know enough about it.
Your second point is spot on. It's not community activism.
It's the county deciding they want to do something. So
or the superintendent of schools,
right?
Saying, oh, we need to put an auto tech center here.
Right.
That's what happened at Shady Grove.
We need a jumbotron at our football field. So we are having to do what other communities have not really had to do.
Exactly, with everything.
Yeah.
Community center, high school.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah, that's the starting point. I think what really was our commissioner meeting with Dr. Smith, and then obviously the creation of this group, and which are things that nobody has had to do.
Yeah, I remember that meeting.
Yeah, and then on top of it now, we were told that we were the first of this new breed of rebuilds. Remember, where nothing gets demolished. Then this is rebuilding is the word, and then now we may be the first ones that are subject to this 2-tier funding system.
Right.
Yeah.
All of which I hate being the petri dish.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, Dr. Smith did us a big favor when he took us off the list, and then at the same time removed the old system of the KFI
Yes.
system where everyone has to follow each other. That enabled us to advocate on our own and outstand ourselves from everybody else. And we were able to push ourselves ahead of Wooten, Damascus, Magruder, Crown Farm.
Yeah.
So that was actually worked in our favor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So strategic.
The KFI system was good in the sense that it oversimplified to some extent, but it had this great little chart, and you could see reds and yellows and greens.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one school, and you only saw one school. The red, it was us.
With
It
us,
was
yeah.
very much harder for people to say, "Oh, well, we can put you guys off for another 5 years." So yeah, that did help a lot, Kevin. But the downside of the system is that they, at the same time, announced that they were no longer going to do complete teardowns and rebuilds. And I'm not where Jerry Klobakowski, and I think he was always a great advocate, but he always was upset because we didn't get an entirely new school. I guess I'm not quite there on that point, but because in effect, even though we're not getting an entirely new school, almost all of the stuff that's new is classrooms. And that to me is the most vital part of the school anyway.
Right.
So I'm not as upset about that, but what I am upset about is that because of that, it makes it harder for the county to do what they should have done, which is put a new gym in. Because I'm beginning to be pretty convinced now that, and David and I had this discussion, I think David's right. We were told by Seth, the county planning guy, that it's very difficult to take that gym and just expand it, move it out, because there's some bearing and retaining walls in there. They're very difficult to engineer around. And what that means, I think, is that you almost have to build a new gym. You can't just, essentially tear down a little piece and add to it. And I think that where the stumbling block has come in is because, they are not doing tear downs and rebuilds. So they don't want to tear down the gym and they don't want to rebuild it, but they know they did put a new one in. It's probably in more like $15 and $20 million added to this budget. And they've already got us at a budget level that is so low for a high school rebuild that it's beyond belief in some ways. I mean, most schools, you're talking 125 million to 150 million. In the case of Seneca Valley was even more, but that's because they added to it at the end and added a new whole set of facilities around this new program they got. But still, $70 million is really, really low for a school, high school. And I think this whole time they've been designing to a budget. They haven't been willing to budge on that. And that's what our big block has been. So.
Well, and to circle back about a media strategy, I think that right there, that fact about, the budget comparison based on other high school budgets is a strong fact. So if we decide to move forward with a media strategy, I think that can be one of them. I had one other point. I don't know if you saw it recently, but the federal COVID relief dollars that are coming to cities and counties, those funds have largely been or become unrestricted now. So I don't know if any of the county dollars could flow to any of your projects that they're getting this year. It's just something to think about and or ask, maybe even some of the county executive candidates who may have their finger on those issues. And certainly a lot of those questions can be asked in the forums to really, ask if any additional dollars could come to help adequately support Western Montgomery County with these projects.
Do you have a source for that, Laura, that you could share?
I read about it in the Maryland Daily Record.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I can go and pull that. I'm not sure when the official decree came down, but I read about it recently and today, but I don't know what edition of the Daily Record it was, but I think this week's.
So I remember when they were showing us all, the possible plans, and there was a lot of discussion when we had all those meetings and we were asking questions of the county folks, that I was discouraged from mentioning, not by you guys, but from mentioning the per student cost of this school compared to other builds that they've done.
Right.
And I don't see why that would be a negative thing, because it's far less per student, even though we have a smaller population. it still ends up being far less per student being spent on our kids than any of these other builds.
We've actually got, we did develop that, Catherine, and it probably would be good to resurrect it again. And I can't remember the numbers now, but we did develop it, including a couple of middle schools that have been rebuilt.
Right.
And I think our number was like $45,000 per student, and Seneca Valley was around 75,000 or something like that. So,
Yeah, there was a huge gap compared to most of the high school.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the county has always, and that's why it's so hard to really be an advocate to some degree in this county, even though it's supposedly open and they want to be interactive with the community and the residents and give them all the input they can. The truth is, if you try to find information out about some of these things, they really
It's
make
hard.
it hard.
Yeah.
So like the gymnasium issue, for example, we had to use what amounts to a marker, not really the actual number, because we couldn't find any information on square footage of the gyms. They don't publish it. What they did publish, luckily for us, only because you have to rent space in these gyms, so they actually show you, is how much seating that capacity they have. Well, that's a good substitute for saying, okay, here's square footage, but you can only put in Poolsville High School, I forgot what it was, but let's say 500 seats, but you can put 1,500 seats in Magruder. So, hey, it has to be much bigger, a lot bigger. So that's what we used. And that's the only reason we did that is because we could not get information. I actually approached, and I think when Jim and I met with Seth, I think we even asked him, is there data on this stuff? And, oh yeah, I think there might be some. Of course, we never got it. So, I mean, that's part of the difficulty of advocating is, and it's part of the way they avoid too, having the divisive battles that you might get normally, because, you know, you can't really put your hands on stuff. So you can't go in and say, well, they got this, so we should get that.
Right. Right. Well, it'd be really nice if we could just kind of temporarily kidnap everyone, put them on a bus and drive them all around to all the other schools and show them, see this? We go to these schools with our kids when they're playing basketball or wrestling or whatever. And then we come back to Poolsville.
Yeah.
So.
Mhm.
Yeah, actually today I looked up on the Facebook posts that people had when they sent their emails to the muster. There were several who said, I substitute in other schools. I can tell you from personal experience, our gym needs to be rebuilt.
Oh, yeah.
As bad as our gym compared to other high schools. And these people go around, they see them. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I added a couple things to that email.
That's fine.
Couple pointed remarks.
We're counting on our citizens.
They
to
were civil.
be good citizens, and being strong is fine, you know, as long as they're not inappropriate. That's
They
fine.
were civil.
That's
That's
good.
good. That's good. A lot of people edited their messages,
Yeah, I'm glad.
I even noticed Jerry sent a message and he didn't edit his. So I was thankful for that.
As long as I don't use the old Saturday Night Live line. Remember, Jane?
Yes. Yes.
You know what?
Yeah,
As long as I don't do that, I'm good.
I think we're okay.
All right. I think that's it. So Laura, what I might do is I think a letter to the editor at least might be worth doing. I know it's only 200 words, but I think it's if we don't get anything out of the Board of Education meeting. So.
Oh, I do think I made a quick edit to the title of the email to say fair funding for PHS
Right.
to go with our fair access.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I saw that. It was good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Were you going to say something, Laura?
Yeah, just a technical. I mean, a letter to the editor is usually in reference to an article that's been run. So it would be more of an opinion editorial or an editorial.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, so just a technical term there. But
So is
yeah.
there some way to do it? It's probably going to be kind of hard because they don't normally, I know how hard it is getting an editorial of any kind published. So.
Yeah, we need to call the editor and they will give us the nod that they will run it or to send it in. And usually wouldn't encourage you to write anything until we get that nod that they want to run it. The Business Journal has run, you know, editorials for us in the past as well. So yeah, we can reach out whenever you want to let me know.
What about I noticed Bethesda Beat sometimes runs editorials or letters to the editor.
Yeah, for sure. We keep Caitlin Peets in the loop on all our communication. She's definitely on our media list, but she isn't necessarily the editor. So we absolutely can reach out there too, because we know that that is widely read as well. So no, thanks for flagging that. And, MCM too. So we just need to have the green light from you and we can start the outreach.
Yeah, it seems like Bethesda Beats our only local source for news.
Yeah.
Just MCM.
Yeah.
But MCM, DVM, there's DVM TV news too, but they don't cover a lot. But
Caitlin does a good job of doing some more digging on her
Who-
stories, I noticed.
Who does that?
Caitlin Peets, is it Peets? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Pete's. Mm-hmm.
She does a really good job of following up with board members or county people and saying what's really going on. Like the story about the no confidence vote that the staff union just put out for the superintendent and the BOE. So that's their second no confidence vote.
Laura, there's an article in the Post that just mentions the Board of Education meeting and decisions they made. That would be enough of the hook to get a letter to the editor, possibly.
Yeah, depending on if we can certainly hook it with that, because they're voting on our project tonight, right? So yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they will, because it's probably not a newsworthy meeting, I'm guessing, but
it's an important issue. It's just it depends what else is going on, we can try. Mm-hmm.
Let's see how it goes. I think Kevin's right. They're not gonna, 10 minutes. It's what they call the consent calendar. All those 15 items are basically run through really quickly, and they've already gotten, if you look at the memo, it says nothing in detail other than there's $70 million for Poolsville High School. We're moving ahead with phase 1, and Dustin Construction is the company we're going to use for the construction. That's basically all it says. So I doubt anything's going to happen tonight. The only thing I was hoping was that one or more board members would say something about, hey, look, we said we'd do something on the gym. When are we going to do it? And because they did do that at the hearing that I was at with David Griffith. And so maybe they will tonight.
Well, based on the number of emails that have gone out, there may be some chatter, conversation, recognition, at least, to take something up. I don't know. We should be monitoring the meeting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
So when we get off here, I think at 8:00 we'll be on the agenda.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Just one other thing on the media. So I just double checked. MCM, actually, one of their main writers, Miriam Shazad, is a Poolsville High School graduate.
Yes.
So she always has interest in stuff that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, she's on our list too. She gets all our communication.
I know you do. Yeah, I know you keep good in touch. You've built a good relationship with her. Thank you. And my man, Justin Hinton, as always.
I know. Yeah. He didn't pick up our last outreach, but
How about that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you tried.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Anything else you guys have for the good of the order? If not, could somebody make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank
Be in
you.
touch.
Bye-bye.